Hello, nice to meet you. I'm Choi Sung, and I would like to talk about the Xi Jinping and Trump's new nationalism, and I don't like this new nationalism, and we should push for global and colloquialism against the new nationalism. Mm. Each day, more signs point to tremendous shift in China and American conservatism away from the prior consensus and toward the new nationalism of Xi Jinping and Donald Trump. In the 1930s, in 1930s, many serious Christian thinkers in Germany believed they could manage an alliance with emergent liberal nationalism. Prominent theologians like Paul Althaus and Friedrich Gogarten believed that the national socialist movement offers a new opportunity to strengthen social order and cohesion around Christian identity. But some Christians immediately resisted, most visibly in the Parliament Declaration of 1934, which rejected the compromise of German Christianity and its heinous distortions of the gospel. But now, in 2020, it's surely different. But China and American Christians now face a moment whose deadly balance has brought such energies to mind. So I think that I don't like this nationalism. To be clear, nationalism is not the same as patriotism. Nationalism supposes political belongings of religious, ethnic, and racial identities, loyalties intended to precede and supersede the law. Patriotism, by contrast, is the love of the laws and loyalty to them over leader of a party. Such a nationalism is not only a political digress, but reflects a profound theological errors that threaten the integrity of a Christian faith. It damages the love of neighbor and betray Christ. So we reject the pretensions of nationalism to serve our highest loyalties. National identity has no bearing on the depths of love we owe other sons and daughters of God, created in the image and likeness of God. All human beings are our neighbors, regardless of citizenship status. And we reject rational tendency to homogenize and narrow the church to a single ethnos. The church cannot be itself unless filled with disciples from all nations, cities, status, and nations have borders. The church never does. If the church is not ethnically plural, it is not the church, which requires a diversity of tongues out of obedience of the law. And we reject xenophobia and racism of many forms of ethno-nationalism, explicit and implicit, as a grave sin against God the Creator. Violence done against the bodies of marginalized people is violence done against the body of Christ. Indifference of the suffering of orphans, refugees, and prisoners is indifferent to the Jesus Christ and his cross. White super Marxist ideology is the work of the Antichrist. We reject rationalists' claim that the strangle refugees and migrants are enemies of the people. Where nationalism peers the stranger as a threat to political community, the church welcomes the stranger as necessary for full community with God. Jesus Christ identifies himself with the poor, imprisoned foreigner in need of hospitality. For I was hungry, and you gave me no food. I was thirsty, and you gave me no drink. A stranger, and you gave me no welcome. Naked, and you gave me no clothing. Ill and in prison, and you did not care for me. Matthew chapter uh, 25, verse uh, 41 to 43. We reject the nationalist inclination to despair when unable to monopolize power and dominate the opponents. So when Christians change from majority to minority status in a given country, they should not contort their witness in order to stay in power. The church remains the uh, church even as a political minority, even when unable to influence the government or when facing persecution. In charity and in hope, we urge our fellow Christians to repudiate the temptations and the pursuits of nationalism, the politics of xenophobia, even when dressed up in high-minded social critique, can only be pursued in a contradiction of a gospel. A true culture of life welcomes the stranger, embraces the orphan, and binds the wounds of all who are our neighbors, all who lie lifeless on the Lord as the pierce work silently past.